You know the question I'm talking about. It's the one that can undo a whole day. It's the one that follows you into bed at night and whispers to you while you're scrolling on your phone at 2 in the morning. So today we're going to sit with that very personal, very human question. And the goal isn't to shame it, but to really understand what it's trying to tell us. It's just 3 simple words, right? But they land with such a heavy weight. You see someone get the promotion you wanted, or the relationship, or, the life that looks exactly like the one you imagined for yourself. And boom, there it is. That quiet, burning question rising up from deep inside. Why not me?
So this feeling, it has a name, of course. It's envy. And it's one of the oldest, most universal human experiences out there. I mean, you've got philosophers from Aristotle all the way to Kant describing it as that displeasure we feel at another person's good fortune. It's ancient, it's totally human, and it always begins with one thing: comparison.
And the science behind this feeling is really fascinating. It's all rooted in what psychologists call social comparison theory. Basically, it just explains that we are literally hardwired to measure our own worth against other people. It's a fundamental human drive, like an instinct, just for figuring out, okay, where do I stand in the grand scheme of things?
This quote here really reveals the cruel geometry of envy. It thrives on proximity. Think about it. We rarely envy some distant celebrity, right? No, we envy our cousin, our coworker, that person from college whose life feels like it could have been our life. Their success feels like a direct verdict on our own. And this isn't just some emotional reaction either. Neuroscience actually confirms it. Brain imaging studies have shown that the feeling of envy, it activates the very same regions of the brain that are associated with physical pain. So when you feel that sting, you're not being dramatic. You are, quite literally, hurting. Okay, so if this is such an ancient feeling, how did it become such a chronic modern problem? Well, if envy is the spark, our modern world is basically a room soaked in gasoline.
I mean, look, social media didn't invent envy, not by a long shot, but it absolutely industrialized it. For most of human history, our village was pretty small, Now our village is global. It's endless. And we're constantly measuring our messy, behind-the-scenes reality against the perfectly lit, curated highlight reels of literally millions of people.
And this isn't just happening on our phones either. It's amplified by the world around us. With growing social inequality, the gap between the life we actually have and the lives we see on screen, well, it feels wider than ever. It turns that question, why not me, into the constant low-hum background noise of modern life.
But this is where the story takes a really important turn, because it turns out not all envy is created equal. And understanding the difference, that's the absolute first step toward finding a way through all of this.
Psychologists draw a really key distinction here. Okay, so on one hand, there's what they call benign envy. That's the kind that says, I want what they have. It's uncomfortable, for sure, but it can actually be a powerful motivator. But then there's malicious envy, and that one whispers, I want them not to have it. And that's the kind that just corrodes you from the inside out. It's what turns us bitter. And this malicious envy, it can fester and turn into something even more toxic. It's what the philosopher Nietzsche called ressentiment. This is what happens when we can't get what others have. So instead, we convince ourselves that what they have isn't even worth having in the first place. We start tearing other people down just to feel like we're on the same level.
And all of this, it really leads to a critical realization. What if why not me is just the wrong question altogether? What if it's a surface-level reaction that's masking a much deeper question we really need to be asking ourselves?
The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who, survived the Nazi concentration camps, he argued that our deepest human need isn't success or status, it's a sense of meaning. And here's the crucial thing about meaning. You cannot copy it from someone else's life. It has to be discovered in your own.
So, how do we actually handle this painful feeling? Well, the solution isn't to just retreat from the world or delete all your apps. It's about fundamentally changing your orientation. It's about shifting from a mindset of comparison to a mindset of creation. Okay, here are 3 practical steps to start making that shift. First, interrogate the desire. Ask yourself, do I really want that specific job, or do I just want the feeling of being seen and validated that I think comes with it? Second, compare fairly. Always remember you are seeing their highlight reel, not their bloopers. And third, and this one's probably the hardest, build a self that doesn't need a mirror. Figure out who you are when no one is watching.
Know what makes you feel alive, not just what makes you look successful.
Listen, we can't control that initial sting of envy. That's the stimulus, right? But as Viktor Frankl reminds us, there is always a space before we react. And in that space, that's where our power is. We can choose to let that envy pull us down into bitterness, or we can choose to use it as a clue, a signpost pointing toward what we truly value.
So that question, why not me? It's definitely a question born of pain. But what if underneath that pain there's actually something good, a hunger to matter, a hunger to grow, to live a full life? See, that hunger isn't the problem. In fact, it's one of the most vital, most human things about you. The problem is when we try to feed that hunger with comparison.
So let me just leave you with a different question to think about. Not, why not me, but what is mine? What is the life that is uniquely, irreplaceably mine to build? What kind of meaning is waiting for me right here in my specific circumstances? The next time you feel that sting, let it be a reminder that you're alive and that you want more. And then just gently turn that question around. Ask yourself, what is mine? And what am I doing about it?